Hi everybody. We're gonna paint today this building. This is San Lorenzo del Escorial. It's quite a UNESCO heritage landmark in Madrid. I think it's 5 centuries old. I think it's from the 16th century, so it's quite old. And we're gonna make the drawing really fast. I don't want to stay too many time making the drawing, okay? Because I want it to be, we're gonna make a monochrome painting, okay? I want to focus on light and shadow, and I don't want to get lost in details. So I'm gonna purposely try to draw this fast and try to make it without adding too much details to the drawing, okay? So I will encourage you to try to draw this fast. Don't worry if the drawing is not perfect. I think it is good that you get used to draw fast, kind of in a sketchy way, because when you're making a watercolor, you don't really need sometimes too many details in order for it to work, as long as you have a clear understanding on how light and shadow are working in the subject that you're painting. Okay, so let's try to draw this fast, and then we will just paint it using only one color, and focusing more on light and shadow, focusing more on the contrast between the illuminated and non-illuminated parts of the painting, and less about having every detail in place. Okay. So as you can see, I'm basically placing as fast as I can the basic shapes that define the volume of this building. Okay, I'm just kind of doing kind of like the wireframe of the volumes that define this building. I am not doing many details. I'm just imagine that this is let's say, if you make a model, with I don't know, like a 3D, like a laser printer, or I don't know, if you sculpt a volume of this building, and I'm just painting the edges. I'm drawing the edges just to have them in place, and I am not really doing every little with every window, every little thing. Okay, I will just place the most important things, let's say, but basically I'm painting the edges of a volume of this building. So I'm gonna stop drawing now, and again, I basically focused on the drawing the edges of the volumes that define this building. Okay, I didn't do every little thing. I didn't place windows, for example, because I will do that later with the watercolor. I don't mind if I don't have them right now. I don't want to waste time doing something that I know I can do later, and also because we're purposely working in this kind of fast fashion. So I'm gonna make a mix of ultramarine blue, and I will maybe add just a little touch of burnt sienna to kind of break the color, okay, but it's gonna be basically ultra blue all the way. And I will probably make another mix with ultra blue and a little touch of opera pink, just to have the same ultra blue with two different kinds of hues, let's say. One will be colder and the other will be a little slightly warmer, so I can just jump from one to the other as I go. But this is gonna be basically a monochrome painting. I just like having two temperatures for the same color, because that way I can create a little bit of atmosphere in the painting. As you can see, I did not grab too much water with the brush. I just maybe dipped it once in the water pot, and then I with that just amount of water. This is a pedigree brush, so it holds a lot of water, and with that amount of water I did the mix. So it's kind of like a creamy, not creamy, but milky, let's say, mix of paint. Okay, so I'm gonna go for it. I get a little bit more extra ultra blue. I have one brush with the ultra blue, and the other I have it with just a little bit of water, just a little bit. Okay, I took some water with the brush, and then I kind of dried it with a tissue, so it's kind of humid, but it's not wet. And I'm gonna use this second brush to move the paint that I use with the first brush, so I can kind of create soft transitions with the paint that I'm laying on the paper. I do this a lot. If you've been painting with me these days, you see that I normally have two brushes at hand, and normally one of them is either a dry brush or a brush with just a little bit of water, so I can move paint around a bit, and I create soft transitions between darker and lighter values. Some people do this by having a thicker and a lighter mix of paint, one with a lot of water, one with not so much water, but I prefer having a brush in hand and move the paint on the paper, because I don't want to the less, if I use too much water in my mixes, then depending on the kind of painting that you're doing, but in this kind of painting it will probably ruin. So I prefer having a kind of like a wet brush, and on the other hand with just a little bit of water, and then move the paint with it, so I can create soft transitions without losing control. And you can see that I am being darker on the edge of this kind of architectonical detail here, and on the edges I kind of use like the darker mix, and then I move it with the brush where the painting is less, let's say, where there's a little bit more light in the shadow. The closer you get to, there's a terrace down this kind of dome, and this terrace is bouncing some light back. So the closer I am to the bottom of this kind of cylinder, the lighter it is. So that's why I'm darker on top, and then I move the paint down with some with the other brush. And now I just want to lift some paint here. So I have my tissue, I have my brush, and I lift some paint where there are some columns here that reflect sunlight in a different way, and I just want to show that. There's also some bounced light in this corner, let's say, and so I can use the other brush either to move paint or to lift paint, and it's always something that I like doing. No shadow is flat, so there's always this kind of like value transition between darker and lighter values within the shadow, and I normally do that either using two colors or using a second brush with water or dry in order to lift or move the paint in a softer ways. It's important to create atmosphere within the shadows. Now we're defining a surface here which is rounded, okay? It's a sphere. So I kind of add a little bit of water and paint to the bottom of this surface, and as I go up, I go lighter with the mix, because the closer we are to the bottom of this sphere, the darker it is. The closer we are to the top, the lighter it is. So that's why keep that in mind, so that you can create a soft transition between the lower part of the sphere and the upper part of the sphere. you can see how the wireframe structure that I did with the drawing before, it's serving me to kind of define where the shadows are kind of moving on this volume. So I am just painting the shadows. I am not painting details. I am not painting. Let's say I am not drawing lines with my brush. I am painting shadows, and it's an important thing to keep in mind. Focus on the shadows. Don't focus on the object that defines the shadows. Focus on the shadows, and you will have a kind of a way, like a lot of work done on simplifying whatever you're painting. If you focus on the shadows instead of on the silhouette that kind of cast or define those shadows, you will kind of learn how to simplify subjects. I soften the edge of this shadow because it's kind of soft. Something that I like doing. There are sharp edges and soft edges in this painting. So certain areas where the transition between light and shadow is soft, and certain areas in which the transition is a little bit more dramatic. Now I'm working a little bit with the mixture that I did before with the ultra blue and opera pink, because I want to, the closer we are to the ground, I want to warm it up a little bit, just a little bit. Now, almost every big shadow is right now already in place. So we can start thinking about getting some details in place, right? I just wanted to point out again, we did all the big areas which are in the shadows. but I didn't do them in a flat way. I tried to make all these shadowy areas in a kind of atmospheric way. And the way to do that is to either change a little bit the value or the hue of the color that you're using, or moving the paint while once you put the paint on the paper, move it with another brush, which is what I'm doing. All these movements that I'm doing, I could just maybe create two different kinds of watercolor washes. You know, I could create a mix of paint with more water and a mix of paint with less water, and use both alternatively as I go. But I prefer having kind of like the same thickness in one watercolor mix, and then just lighten or harden the mixture by using another brush with only water, and move the paint already in the paper. That's a really effective way to create atmosphere without worrying too much about having different kinds of thickness or density in your watercolor palette in this kind of painting, and in this kind of early stage of the painting. Later, when we do details, I will just add more paint into the mix, and I will try to thicken the mixture a bit so that we can have darker values in place. But at this time, I prefer to work with just let's say one consistency, one kind of density of pigment in the palette, and then if I need it lighter, I just have another brush that I can use to soften the mixture in the paper. Now we're starting to place some details in the painting. I'm gonna place all these windows here, and you will see how once we start putting all the windows, this starts to kind of become even a little bit more alive. And you don't have to define every window. I will just probably define a few of them, and that's it. But just check how I'm defining them. I'm not painting, let's say, straight square. I'm just painting the shadows within the windows. And you see that these windows, they have like an inner structure. They are divided in different paints, and I'm painting basically the paints that define these windows. So immediately, if you paint things by painting its shadows and not painting its silhouette, let's say, immediately you create much more three-dimensionality, because shadows speaks of dimensionality. Only an object with volume casts shadows. So if you focus on the shadows instead of the silhouette, your paintings will be much more, let's say, they will have more depth. So again, I know I'm just saying this all the time, but I can't just say it enough. Focus on the shadows, focus on painting shadows, and forget a little bit about the silhouette of things. Okay, now I'm going to lift some paint, and for that I'm just gonna use a kind of like a slightly wet brush, and then I will just scrub with a paper tissue. I will just take all the paint that I just wetted like this, and it's a great way to develop texture and develop kind of volume in places that you have already kind of painted uh, before. I really like doing this. Now I'm preparing slightly darker and thicker mixture of ultra blue and burnt sienna, just to create this kind of blue dark that dips to gray, and just to have some additional details here and there. This is mostly over. It's mostly over. I'm just adding some little additional details that speak about how this things is constructed. There's a lot of brickwork here, masonry work, and I'm just hinting it by adding small lines here and there. It's nothing too elaborated, let's say. Now I'm just gonna grab some titanium white straight from the tube, just to add a few highlights here and there. I normally try to leave highlights with using the white paper, but in certain occasions I just if I already covered an area with paint, you can just let's say get some highlights back by using paint straight from the tube. I normally use either titanium white or Jaune Brilliant, which is a opaque yellow that I have from Holbein, and both of them are great to make this kind of highlight. And this is it. I hope that you liked it, and I hope that I see you soon. Ciao.